702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
10:47. We're going to speak now to Alison Tilley from Judges Matter. I don't know if you caught this, but over the past few days, Chief Justice Mandisa Maya her office announcing the introduction of a sexual harassment policy for the judiciary. It's been described, of course, as quite necessary and urgent. A lot of us have been asking ourselves, what is the judiciary's role and its position on sexual harassment? Many of it, of course, coming off of that case that I think, again, leaves many jaws on the floor around the Eastern Cape Judge President Tshidi Madia and those sexual harassment claims that he's been facing at the Judicial Conduct Tribunal. It's a first, from my understanding. Those were brought, of course, by a secretary of his division. As I said, I'm joined on the line by Alison Tilley to understand this a little bit better. Alison is a coordinator at Judges Matter. Alison, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I mean, the Tshidi Madia matter has made us ask a lot of questions, and a lot of us were surprised that this is a first of all, and that we don't actually have instruments or haven't dealt with this or are well equipped, even as a judiciary, to attend to matters like this within that particular space.
Well, I think one of the things that's maybe held it up is just this question about the status of judges. I mean, judges are not employees. In the traditional sense. The judicial officers are independent. They're subject to a completely different set of rules. So it's maybe not so surprising that the rules around sexual harassment have not been perhaps as clear as they should be. I mean, obviously there's the labor law definition, but what this policy is doing is both giving clarity and depth to the definition of sexual harassment and also providing some mechanisms for people who want to raise a concern about it. So it's I think it's innovative in that way.
Let's speak a little bit more about it. What kind of gaps does this policy close and how does it apply?
Well, it's going to apply in relation to judicial officers, so judges and magistrates, and it will also apply in the sort of court environment. And there's a couple of different options for people who want to complain. The idea is to establish a gender desk in the office of the Chief Justice, and people would be able to go and complain there, but in different ways. So you don't have to do a full-on Judicial Service Commission complaint like Ms. Mengu had to do. You can also raise a concern in confidence, ask for mediation. You can also just ask for help and say that you're not managing perhaps with the trauma that you've undergone, and the gender desk will then try and resource complainants in terms of psychosocial care. So there's different mechanisms at play, and I think it's quite flexible and can be adapted to what the complainant needs. So it intends to be victim-centered.
What kind of training then is needed there when you look at the judges, magistrates, the staffers themselves, even security, in trying to adapt to this kind of policy? I get that you're saying that it's quite flexible, but what would everybody else who needs to use it or be aware of it and how to get maximum benefit from it need to do? What kind of training is required by judicial officers in order to make sure that it's applied effectively?
And I think that's one of the things about the policy is that it tries to give some of the step-by-step on having people learn about the policy. So it's not expected that you're just going to, read it and understand. The idea is that there will be training, and people will have to attend the trainings, so that I think the understanding of the policy will be deeper and at all levels. So that's, I think, part of the implementation plan.
And with regards to matters relating to the judiciary, but happening in non-court environments, is there a way, is there recourse, does it allow for people to bring those issues connected to the judiciary, but not taking place in the courtroom environment, that they can complain? Is there room for those kind of issues to be raised and to be dealt with as well?
Well, I think it's, if it's something where, for example, it's a criminal matter affecting a magistrate, let's say, I don't think it would fall under the category of this sexual harassment policy, because it doesn't, it doesn't mean that you don't then have the whole system of criminal law. So that would be a different thing. But if you are in the court environment and something is happening that affects judicial officers, then the policy would apply.
And then in terms of the overall issue, I think one of the things that we all saw, the themes that a lot of us feel need to be addressed, is about the power imbalances. How does this help close that gap? I mean, never mind claims that have been put there around sexual harassment, the power imbalances of themselves present multitudes of different issues also that need to be addressed. How does a policy like this help to close that gap and to navigate it?
I think it's a very important question, because the difficulty with reporting sexual harassment is often that the one person is so much more senior and or so much more powerful. And the policy specifically tries to recognize that in the moment that person who is being harassed may not be able to immediately say something like stop or, this is unacceptable. But they may do something that would maybe turn away the comment, or maybe laugh, try and distract away from it. And I think one of the policy is perfectly clear that it doesn't matter if that happens; it is still sexual harassment. That it's an unwanted advance of a sexual nature, and that is unacceptable. So I think it does do that, and then it also creates the reporting mechanism, so you don't have to directly confront somebody who is your boss, or maybe your boss's boss, but you can then go to the gender desk and report it there and talk through your options. So it does give some ways of dealing with it, but I think that is exactly one of the problems, is that where you have these disparities, it is very difficult to deal with.
Just as we wrap up, though, Alison, at the start of this conversation, you spoke about why it took so long, and I think there's nuance that you're suggesting around the dealing with judges and recognizing them versus labor law and the likes. The kind of environment that this policy comes into, what is it like? What was the judiciary's track record? How was it dealing with issues of harassment and the likes? The track record of how it's managed these issues in the past, and what is the overall hope of the change in terms of impact it will have on the judiciary?
So if we look back in 2019, the International Bar Association brought out a report looking at sexual harassment in the judiciary, and it really was part of the thinking about why we had to tackle sexual harassment here in South Africa, is that it's not just a problem in our jurisdiction. It is a problem which is international, and which cuts across different jurisdictions. And so we've seen that the problem is there in terms of trying to go forward with the solution. It's really making sure that we think about the issues and really try to follow some of the proposals in the policy, and then we'll see how that pans out. There will be an implementation phase, which I think we have to remember. So it's not necessarily going to all, it won't all hit the ground running all at the same time from what we can see. So we would expect to have it implemented over time.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Alison Tilley from Judges Matter speaking about the sexual harassment policy that's being introduced for the judiciary. I mean, the Chief Justice Mandisa Maya is saying that the judiciary, the policy will entrench a culture of accountability and respect that ensures that our judiciary remains a beacon of justice for everyone, for all, and that the policy reiterates the judiciary's unwavering commitment to the constitutional values of human dignity, equality, and justice, and that it also sends a clear message that sexual harassment has no place in the halls of justice. Thank you for that.